Okay guys, it's Verdier again. As you can see, I'm out with Big Blue today, getting ready to take it out for a long drive to go pick up a dog. I finally got her back. It took about a week for the repair to be done, and I'm sorry to say the repair isn't complete, but I'm going to get into that in a moment because this is essentially an update on that. I call her Big Blue. It's a Ford Fusion Energi. So first thing I want to talk about real quick before we get into this is I had talked about the updates being a problem on this car. That the thing, every time, even though I had a good signal here by my house, that the car would keep saying, hey, you need to connect in order to do updates, and even though it was connected and so forth. Well, I got some nice comments in the video by a gentleman who goes, or gentleman or lady who goes by the name of Mystifier. And I'm going to read this out to you just to let you know some ideas on how to fix that if you have either a Ford product with a Sync 3 system. I figure it's going to be with most Sync 3 systems going to be like this. Or, you know, if you have a Ford Fusion Energi or if you're thinking of getting one. This person recommended a few things about this. Regarding your car not connecting to Wi-Fi. Some things you can try are turning off 5 gigahertz. So if you have a 5 gigahertz router, you might want to turn it off and turn it to 2.4 only, which is fine for most people. They recommended also setting your Wi-Fi password to 8 characters or less. Unfortunately, this is a problem for me. I'm not having an 8 character or less listing. Personally, I don't know why that would be a problem, but that has to do with programming. He's just giving ideas on how to help this work. Also, turning off 802.11r support on your Wi-Fi router if that's enabled. So these are 3 things you can do if you're having this problem with Sync 3, getting your updates going, or if you're getting errors or issues. So now we're going to get into that little situation we had with the lane departure system not working, which I did a video on. Very interesting story. Well, I gave the car to Ford on Monday. Happily or unhappily, we had some pretty nasty weather this week. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with things that have to do with lane departure and so forth, basically you have to have clean roads in order to do testing and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't get the car back until Friday. Interestingly enough, they told me it was all fixed. They replaced the front camera. You see the front camera is right up here at the top. Let's do a 2x on it, right up there at the top where that mirror is. And we're going to go back up from 2x. They replaced the camera, which involves replacing the mirror as well. And essentially, I believe he's the head mechanic or the foreman of the Ford over at Row Ford in Auburn. He took her for a test drive, and apparently everything was working fine. Well, I get into the car, and, you know, I go to check the settings, because I figured if they replaced that, they probably had to do some reprogramming and so forth, and, you know, how settings can be changed. I go, and I see the settings for my road departure system is set at alert only. Well, I change it to alert and aid, because, heck, you know, I paid all, you know, I'm leasing a car, you know, it costs all that money. I want the darn thing to do all the fancy bells and whistles for me. So I go ahead, set it to that, I go driving, and I go test it out, and lo and behold, it is better, much better. The car does respond with counter steering when you start going real close to a line and so forth to steer you towards the center. Very subtle, a little too subtle for my taste, but I can understand why Ford went that direction, probably so, you know, average people won't freak out thinking the car's trying to wrest control from them or so forth. But it did work, going on both sides, considering whether I could get the lines to recognize, which this camera doesn't seem to do as well, but we'll leave that for another discussion. Unfortunately, the steering wheel never shakes. And I was rather surprised by this. So I went back to Ford, and the foreman comes out. I can't remember what his position is, but I think he's one of the top dogs out there, and he did all the testing and so forth. Obviously knows what he's doing. And he says, Ford Fusion Energi, right? And I said, yep. And I said, look, I want to know, what does it take to get the car to actually do a physical response to the steering wheel? And he looked a little unhappy. Not with me, but he said, is it not working? He said, man, I worked hard on that, and you know, basically he was very nice about it, and it was actually kind of funny the way he said it. But you know, he was a little annoyed. I mean, he took the car and going to I-95 here. It's like a 20-minute drive to get to the highway, and he has to drive for like 10 minutes at 40 miles per hour faster on something with good lines in order to set the thing. He said he did it, and it was acting right and so forth. And so he said, come on, let's go for a drive. And we get in the car, and you know, and I'm trying to allay him. I mean, I'm telling him, you know, look, it's probably user error. I'm probably doing something wrong. He said, no. We're going to check it out because this thing was working fine. And if this thing's not working anymore, I'm going to be very upset. These are paraphrases. I can't say the exact words, but that's basically how it was. A very nice fellow. And as a matter of fact, I'm very happy with Ford in Auburn and the way they've treated me, or at least their attitudes are very nice. I like it over there, at least so far. You never can tell. He goes, he tries it, and sure enough, it's not doing it. He's getting very annoyed by this. I mean, he spent a lot of time getting this car. Plus, we had to do it for a whole week, mainly because of the weather. And he had to have good roads in order to do it. And in the conversation, I tell him, well, you know, he says, when he starts checking the settings to make sure I haven't fooled around or messed up the settings. He has to do that. I don't feel offended by that. And I said, you know, interesting enough, I know it's set to the right settings because when I got into it, it was at 8 only. And he says, it was? And I said, yeah. And he said, yeah, it must have, when I had to do the reprogramming, it must have, you know, reset it to that default. It turns out the car will shake its steering wheel if you set it to alert only. When you set it to alert only, the car will shake the wheel when you get towards the edges. However, if you set it to 8 only, well, not however. Well, if you set it to 8 only, if you get near the edges of the lines, it'll steer back in the center. Here's the kicker. He sets it, both of them work right. He sets it to alert and aid. And the car only does aiding. It will not alert. It will not shake the steering wheel. And he is really very unimpressed with that kind of response. And I said, uh-oh, it looks like it was something else that's going on. You know, he was concerned, I mean, because replacing that camera was very expensive and so forth. Of course, Ford paid for it, but, you know, you have to get pre-authorization and so forth. So I found that very interesting. So the car still doesn't work properly when you're set to alert and aid. And anyone who else has a Ford Fusion Energi of this year, I'd be appreciative if you can send in the comments whether you have the same problem, or send me an email, verdier400@gmail.com, and let me know. He's going to send an alert up to Ford and find out if they know what's going on and how we can fix this situation. It's a very interesting thing. You know, the funny thing is, I forgot the whole idea. I should have told him, hey, why don't we just grab one off the lot and see if it does the same thing, to see if this is just a programming error of some kind, and they just need to do an update. Either way, he's going to get back in touch with me when he finds out from Ford what to do and how to fix it and so forth. And before we end this, I mean, this is just a quick update, and of course it's turning long because you guys know I just have diarrhea of the mouth. We're going to go inside the car, and I'm going to show you something very, very, very important that you guys need to know about. You see this mirror here? That mirror is part of the camera. Apparently, Ford... See, usually when you have mirrors that have the high beam auto dimming in them, they usually have buttons underneath them. Those buttons are generally used for the home links and so forth, so you can open up the windows. Open up your garage door. Oh my God, I am so tired. This car has them up here. And now I know why. Apparently, as part of the camera system, Ford put some of the computers for the entire drive system into the mirror. So, ladies and gentlemen, you break this mirror, just knock it off or whatever, and it can't be put back on, you're out $1,600, and that's Ford's cost. God knows how much it's going to cost you. So, for heaven's sake, you take care of that mirror. It's ridiculous. You cannot replace the mirror all by itself. You could only replace the entire camera system the same, in which case you'll have to also pay for them to reset all the computers, and you'll have to pay for them to go and do the drive and re-aim the computer. So, for heaven's sake, guys, be careful with this mirror. All right, this is Verdier out. I'll probably do, once it's fixed, another drive. And I'm probably going to do a drive with this car and show you how the cruise control works. It works better than the Honda, flat out. Much better than the Honda. Not that the Honda works badly, but the Honda has a severe flaw that this car does not have. So we'll get into that later. So I hope you enjoy this video. If you have any comments, let me know. Mystifier, thank you very much for sending those comments out to let me know ideas on how to help with the updates. And this is Verdier signing out. Take care, guys.